What's up, Leafs fans? Welcome back to another Leafs Nation After Dark. I'm Zack Phillips, and tonight we're going to be breaking down game number 25 of the Toronto Maple Leafs regular season, defeating the Nashville Predators here tonight on home ice. I still have yet to determine whether it was 3-2 or 4-2, but regardless, an exciting win for this Leafs team. Goals from Austin Matthews, William Nylander, and maybe John Tavares. The score bug at the end had Johnny T goal up there. The buzzer, it sounded like, went after the JT goal. I'm not really sure because if I go over to some different sites right now, it looks like it was a 3-2 victory. So maybe we just roll with that for the time being. Nonetheless, what a win. What a game. I went through basically this whole game, or this entire second period at least, being like, boring game. How's this one's going to shape up once we get to the third period? Like, down 1-0. Nick tweets out, this is a boring game. I was at the point where I was like, all right, I could just shut this off, and I'm pretty sure nothing's going to happen between now and the end of the third period based on what we had seen for basically like the majority of that game there. And then the Leafs go hero mode in the third period. 20 minutes effectively of this Leafs team just going balls to the wall, with Austin Matthews all of a sudden going like, hey, I'm good. I'm turning back the clock. My injury is fine. Everything I did in Germany seems to work. I can play physical. I can find open space. Like, he was buzzing in the third period. A lot of it has to do with Marner setting him up, who also played a fantastic game there tonight from Mitch Marner. And not only did he play a fantastic game, but he played a style of hockey that had me believing that there is more than a chance that this Leafs team is actually different. I put out videos. You guys are making fun of me for, oh, you said this already. You thought this already. I get it. But at the same time, when have you ever seen number 16 go in there in the scrum and be the first guy to get in front of a guy and push him around and say, hey, you can't touch my goalie? Just a different night all around from the boys. We're going to get into all of that. We'll get into your questions from the chat. We'll get into any super chats you guys may have. We'll also be joined by Carter Hutton here tonight to help break down everything that just took place in this game and whether or not he believes this team is different. And it's all a presentation of Bet365. If you haven't already, make sure to check out Bet365, proud partner of the Leafs Nation pregame and the Leafs Nation After Dark. Open an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets. Use code NATION, N-A-T-I-O-N, all caps, NATION, N-A-T-I-O-N, when you sign up today. And remember, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. And yeah, I said there, you know what, 16, when have you ever seen him get physical? When have you ever seen him do that? Robert Smith says, never, Zach, never. Also, some other comments in the chat there. I see one about a contract year for 16 from AK. I don't really care. I really don't care. You know, I was thinking about it after the show this morning, and I was like, you know, the salary cap's going to go up. What's his camp going to demand? Because all of a sudden it's starting to creep in. You know, he made Team Canada, or he's gonna be heavily involved in international hockey. Maybe he's going to play with McDavid. Oh, who knows how the lines shake out or whatever. But he's having a great stretch of games here since a slow start to the season. I honestly can tell you, I really don't care at all if he does this all just for a contract season, if it means the Leafs are going to have success at the end of the year. If it means the Leafs are going to have success in April on, then sign me up. Like, if this is a matter of Mitch Marner turning it up and saying, hey, I can be big and tough just so he can get money, if it helps the Leafs win, I really don't give a fuck. Like, let it happen. Let's ride this out. Give him an opportunity to be this guy that we've never seen before. Because if you're going to jump in there and you're going to get in people's faces and you're going to throw guys around and say, hey, you can't touch my goalie, something he has never done in now year 9 with this Leafs team, I'm in. Like, I'm sold. Because It seems like he's got a newfound confidence. It seems like other guys on the team are willing to get in the mix. You've got these other guys, McMahon, Nyes, Grobenkin, Steven Lorentz. Obviously, Ryan Reaves will do it. Minton doesn't seem like he's afraid. Like, there is this attitude amongst the forward group right now, which I've not really ever been too concerned about the D, but you get those guys back there who are willing to back it up as well. Chris Tanev, Jake McCabe, Simone Benoit, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Philippe Myers, like Connor Timmins is getting in it. Pick a guy back there and tell me that guy isn't getting in front of this. Tell me that one of those guys in the defensive core isn't getting in the mix of any type of physical altercation. And now look up front. Now watch how those guys are getting into this, into the mix, into the scrums. Diz K, wait for his playoff performance. Anything else is pure delusion. That's fine. But if he brings this into the playoffs, which at some point here, if you do this enough, it just becomes who you are. That's one of the things I've always stressed about this Leafs team in years past, is like, we see it here and there where it's like, hey, we have a game that looks like the Tampa one on Amazon Prime Night. And then we stress all the time, hey, can you keep this going? Is this a consistent thing? Or is this who you were tonight? Is this who you were? And then that's the extent of it. Every year, we've been fooled. Ooh, 1 game, 3 games, 5 games. Wow, this team looks really good. They look tough. They look physical. They're hard to play against. They can play a defensive style of hockey. And then they roll it over into the next game or a couple of games later, and it's just like all of a sudden, it doesn't matter. It's gone out the window, and then they revert back to who they were for 3, 5, 10 games, and then they come back out, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, wow, they can do it again, and we just get tricked. And us as Leafs fans, we spend the first game going, wow, that was great, and then they go for a second and a third, and our confidence and our trust in the team builds and builds and builds, and then ultimately they just tear it out from underneath us, and they say, haha, very funny, you thought, but you were wrong, and that's not going to be the case. That's not who we were. This is the first time it's starting to feel like it's trending in a different direction where, I mean, I talked about it the other day after the Chicago game. Ugly game. Like, that was not really a pretty game, but it ends up with a 4-1 Leafs victory. How many times in years past do we look at it and go, stinker game, lost to the Blackhawks, lost those points. And all of a sudden, those kinds of things get flipped on its head, and we're the ones at the end of the season going, wow, we lost that points or those points in those games. And now it doesn't really feel like that is quite the case. It doesn't really feel like we're having to deal with those same issues here anymore. And you go that crappy game, third period against Tampa, tough game against Chicago the other night. And then it's like, Rosie and I talk about it this morning. Doesn't feel like Berube is going to let these guys fall asleep like that for yet another game. And lo and behold, this Maple Leafs team comes out with a great third period and ultimately ends up with a victory here tonight. To help us break it all down here tonight, joining us back again on Leafs Nation After Dark. Welcome to the show. The man who also thinks that this team could be different, Carter Hutton. Huts, how's it going?
My man, I'm doing well, obviously, after that one. That was, it was one of those ones where I was like, I didn't know if I want to be on this show here after the way it was going to start, and then they found it, and things are good, man. I got the late games. Like, I got to talk to Nikki about this. I'm always getting scheduled on the 7:30 starts, buddy. I need my beauty sleep here. I got young kids, but I'm here, and we're grinding it out, buddy.
You know, this is the one, like, I do all the producing during the show while the show is live and prep for the show and stuff. And then obviously like hosting it while I'm on here, but like the guest scheduling, 100% Nick. I appreciate the hell out of him for doing it for me and helping me out, but he's 100% to blame for this. This is his fault.
Yeah. I texted him today, actually. I was like giving him crap, and I was like, 7:30 start again. Hey, man, what a joke. But no, it's all good. I'm glad to be on, buddy. I appreciate it. It's always easier after a win. I don't know if I've come on after a loss now. I might have the perfect record. I'm not sure.
I'm certain people in the chat know, because they knew when Rosie was on after the losses and they would get pissed. They see his name pop up like before the game when I schedule the stream and it's like featuring Jay Rosehill. There'd be people here being like, fuck no, like Leafs are going to lose tonight. Like it was rough, but Huts, I want to get into this first and foremost. I was talking about it as you were coming on there. One of the biggest signs was Mitch Marner going after, I can't remember even who it was there in front of the net, but it's like Nylander back checking. Let's start with that. After a turnover from Marner, he gets back, makes a great defensive play, ultimately ends up pushing Sissons into kind of wall / the net. As he crashes in, a Preds player follows it up with a hard forecheck, goes to try to smack the puck in, but Joseph Woll covers it. The first guy to react to the play, believe it or not, was Mitch Marner. Does it not feel like this team maybe has a different vibe to them under Craig Berube here right now?
It does. It does. And it's undeniable at this point, right? I feel like for a little while there, I walked on eggshells, right? It's like it feels different. It seems different, but it is now. And I think it's one of those situations where, yeah, honestly, right? And it's like scared to say, like, this is different, right? Because we've been through this so many times. But I truthfully feel at this point where, in a situation like that, in a game like that, where someone runs your goalie, yes, it was kind of part of the play. You don't want to be the player going back to the bench that didn't do something about it because the wrath is coming. And I feel like what Craig Berube, he was the assistant when I had him in St. Louis, but this is a guy that has like these non-negotiables in his life. And I talk about that all the time, the way he coaches. There's certain ways that you have to play to be a Toronto Maple Leaf or to be a Craig Berube hockey player. And I feel like that's what he's established now. And we look at their back end, we look at their goaltending every night. Yes, we can nitpick the way their offense creates and what goes on, but he has guys buying in to be a team and be consistent. And yes, it's not always going to be glamorous, but there's nights where maybe last year when we looked at this team playing against Nashville or Chicago, I was actually at the game against Chicago, and maybe those would have been games where we put up 5 or 6 and it would have been run and gun offense against a worse team, but they just grind it out. They can grind games out now. They can grind games out. They can find their offense and get to it. And that's what I love about this hockey team now is they're building towards something. And it definitely feels like they're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, I was listening to you on Morning Cup of Hockey with the boys talking about the team being different. I couldn't stop laughing at the fact that you were laughing during that conversation. I know Jeff Merrick thought it was pretty funny as well, but I don't know. Ultimately, this could just end up being the greatest Leafs moment of all time for me, of like, wow, I truly actually finally believe this team was different and I'm an idiot. But for the time being, it is really, really starting to kind of take over like my thoughts on the team and what I'm seeing on a nightly basis. Sleepy games, find a way to win. Don't play that well, but against bad teams, find a way to win. And then most importantly is like, you play a couple of bad games, don't let it be who you are. Turn it around. Like this game against Nashville here tonight, although it wasn't the most exciting for 2 periods, it was like, you know what? It kind of felt like you turned this thing back in the right direction here. And I feel like that has a lot to do with Craig Berube just kind of not letting you go 3 straight games of not great hockey.
Yeah, and I also feel like, so from my perspective of just like being an ex-player, and not to use that as like the trump card by any means in this situation, I feel like I look back on my career and I think of moments where like when you play in 82 games, it's hard to be great all the time. Like there's easy games to like drift away and mail it in, especially when you're a superstar. But what I love about this game is they're going into a period. I was literally sitting watching the game with my wife in the 3rd period, and I talked about how disheartening it is to give up a goal in the first 30 seconds of a 3rd period when you're a team that is like fragile, like the Nashville Predators. And what I view that is good coaching, good leadership in the locker room, where after the second intermission, they're in that room and Craig Berube and the leaders of that room are lighting a fire under the ass of the Toronto Maple Leafs, being like, we're at home, we're down 1-0. We've been kind of average all night. We need to put this team to sleep, right? A fragile hockey team. And literally, I know they joined Matthews and Marner together, and obviously it worked genius, but to do it in the first minute, Matthews gets his next goal just after, and then it's game over. Like literally, I feel like after they scored that first goal to tie that game, I literally was like, the game's over. I like knew they were going to win. It just felt like the momentum. And I think that's what good hockey teams do, is they understand the moment and they create off it, even generating like offensive zone faceoffs, power plays that just took the game over. And you could feel the snowball. Like, I'm not sure when the first shot happened in the 3rd period, but Joseph Woll was at 12 shots for like 10 minutes. Like there was nothing, right? It just felt that way. Yes. Yeah. I don't think you want to give up that late goal, but they're going to make their push, and they held off, and that was a great 3rd period, a really great 3rd period.
Yeah, and I mean, on your point there about like starting on time in the 3rd period, it's something the Leafs struggled with the other way. How many times in the first 30 seconds or the last 30 seconds of a period were they the team giving it up? And now oftentimes you come on the post-game show and you're like, hey, remember in the last 30 seconds of the first period, they went in as 0-0 and they scored and made it 1-0 to go into the first intermission. It's like, it's just a different vibe right now, a different atmosphere. The other thing, too, is a guy who has himself an awesome night here tonight, not just 16, but number 34, 2 goals. And talk about that energy and all of a sudden feeling like this one was over. He scores that goal from Marner. And one of the things, I've been lucky enough to be in that building for a few different games where Matthews has scored. And I've heard it from numerous people who have had other experiences here in Toronto. It feels like when he scores, the roof is going to blow off that place. An arena that gets a bad rap for how quiet or sleepy it can be at times, when Matthews scores, it is electric in there. You score that goal right away, boom, fans are behind you. Tie game, they've been asleep for 40 minutes. You score the goal, life is in the building, and then you carry it over to him scoring that next one. Just how important is it for Matthews to get himself on the board here now in consecutive games, 3 goals in his last 2, start to get that feel back in for him as he had missed almost a month of action, traveled to Germany there in the middle of it as well. But 2 goals here tonight. He looked really, really good in the third period. What do you make of his game tonight?
Yeah, really, really good. And sometimes, like, maybe he held out a little longer than he probably should have. But the team was rolling, right? You want him at full strength. He looks unbelievable right now. He is such a powerhouse, and the way he moves. And then you see that addition with Marner, right? My only problem with that moving forward is I want Marner to keep playing his game as well, right? Because I find sometimes when Marner's with Matthews, it's like he's so worried about Matthews feeding the beast, right? Where tonight it worked perfect. The play to start the period is unbelievable. And then how he walks Nyquist is just insane. I think it's a bad read by Nyquist. Like, you have Mitch Marner coming down the wall. You have Roman Josi on Mitch Marner, arguably one of the best defensemen in the world.
Yeah.
And Nyquist is trying to, like, pinch down, and Matthews puts him in the absolute blender. What a move. And if you watch that clip closely, I felt bad for Saros because Saros goes to poke check him, and Roman Josi lifts Saros' stick as he goes to reach. So that's a little finer touch. As a goalie, I guess I'm always dissecting the goal against, but Matthews looks unbelievable. I think he's a beast, and you feel that energy. It feels like the ice gets tilted when he starts to roll. So it was obviously one of those games, I think, for the Leafs that it doesn't always have to be pretty, right? This is a team that used to be pretty, and every time it came down to big, important games, playoff time, they weren't able to get down in the mud and grind games out. I think that's what we're finding now is you have your offensive players, you have your stars that are going to be those separators, but then you have a complete unit that everyone buys into play that way. So it's been really, really fun to watch. And I know Johnny Lazarus was tweeting at us there. I'm not going to apologize just yet because I did say he was potentially an idiot because he did say the Leafs were going to win the President's Trophy. I more jumped on there right now. Let's not drink the Kool-Aid just yet, right? Because we still have a bad past, right? The Leafs have hurt us before, so I'm not ready to jump in just yet.
Yes, that is the other thing too, right? Like, you're gonna go on there, you're gonna say, yeah, they could win the President's Trophy, and then you're gonna be the one who has to deal with it, and not Laz, because he's gonna say that to you, and you're gonna say yes, and then it's you, Huts, who's got to take the heat online for having agreed at the take. That's what you don't want. I want to talk some goaltending specifically. Can we dig into that first goal and what the hell happened there? I mean, I don't blame Wall myself, but like, hits the stanchion, bounces out. I didn't even really know where it was until I literally saw a flicker because I didn't see it hit the ice. I just saw it bounce back up, and I was like, oh shit. And then all of a sudden, Marchessault's smacking that thing out, which he also hit out of the air, by the way, but smacks in out of the air, basically into the empty net as Wall's still trying to find it. Defenseman's trying to get back. How much of a sense of panic do you have as a goaltender when that puck hits somewhere behind you and you've got no idea where it is?
Yeah, it's tough. That is a tricky play, especially when you lose sight of it, right? You can feel the hopelessness. The only thing I would say if I was moving, I think of Joseph Wall, if we're going through that video, if I'm his goalie coach or we're working together or like in a situation, because that's always what happens, right? For people who don't understand. So every night you would play in the NHL, the next day you would go through your clips with your goalie coach. You would go through them all. You go through the goals against. And some nights if it was a brutal night, you throw it away. that is one where if he was to redo it, as soon as he loses sight of that puck and the awareness he doesn't know where it is, would to be get his left skate inside the post and center himself more in the center of the net. He drops and he's kind of like got the post behind him and he's kind of uneven. It's just a helpless play, right? This is one where it's not really nothing you can do about it, but there is a feeling when you lose sight of that puck, your first move should be just protect the goal line, be in the crease. But what a weird play. Like a great play by Marshall to knock it out of the air. And when you give up a goal like that, it can easily like snowball on you too, right? You can be like, it's not my night. Like you can kind of get rattled. And I thought he's been rock solid. Like this, like we could circle back to this goalie tandem. They are getting a lot of love right now, and rightfully so. For the amount of money they have spent on goalies and the way that these two guys are playing, like Big Stollers the other night was unbelievable. I'm going to start calling him Big Sexy. I hope the name's going to stick because he is just unbelievable. He honestly is just making it look so easy, and I love it how easy he makes his game look. And I still feel like Woll has a higher ceiling. Like I still think this guy's high end could be so capable, and it's nice to see him healthy. Like we need to keep stringing this along, and I love the idea of this back and forth. Each guy playing. For years we sat here and we talked about how Leafs goalies was suspect and we couldn't have that. And now we have what Boston Bruins had for years with Allmark and Swayman, where we have this give and take. And I love it. I think they can stay healthy. They can stay rested. For a guy like Stollers who hasn't played a ton of games, and then for a guy like Woll, same idea. He hasn't really had the keys to the castle before, and he has an injury he has a lot of injuries in his history. So this is a great situation for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and it's a very exciting time, I think, for the Leafs D corps and for their goaltending.
Well, it's one of those things too, like I am a huge proponent of internal competition. Whatever you can do, whether it is forward depth or your bottom six or your bottom pairing defensemen in the six who are going to kind of push each other to be better every single night, every single day you get on the ice, because you are competing for a spot and you don't allow yourself to be complacent and comfortable with where you're at and how things are going. It's nice. And it also seems like these guys have a good relationship, right? Like they're able to support each other while also competing for the net on a daily basis, which is also a nice thing to see as a fan. And honestly, Huts, this is the first time I can think of in like, man, I don't even know. I'm trying to think like some serious like goaltending pairs like in a long time for this Leafs team where not just one goalie going in there, but both goaltenders any given night, I feel like, hey, no issue. Like, I'm fine with this guy being the goalie. Like, I'm doing the pregame stuff, and I know you do the goalie matchups as well for a daily faceoff. But it's like, I do the pregame. I'm like, Woll's playing. Like, no notes. We're good. Stolar's playing. We're good. And last year, even at the end, it was kind of like, ooh, Samsonov's playing. Got to tighten up defensively here tonight. You never know. It's nice to not have to worry about that stuff anymore.
Yeah, it is. It's been a long time, and we'd have to go back a long time to see like maybe Cujo and Corey Schwab, but that was pretty much just Cujo, and Corey Schwab got in there once in a blue moon. But honestly, it's one of those dynamics, I think, where I had a conversation with Shane Doan the other day at pregame skate, and Shane I got to know a little bit in Arizona. He's a very obviously like a legend, right? My kids got to take a photo. They could care less because they just wanted to meet Revo, but like, we made a comment. We talked about that, how this team is growing, how much there's just like that internal desire to win, right? I think that's when it gets contagious, right? You can sit and give media lip service when you hear the team talk, how we want to be different. It's when guys leave the rink and they're at dinner together and they're just like with the boys and they're like really bought into winning. And I feel that's what they have here. And I made a comment about goaltending for me really changed my perspective because you're insulated by your friends and your family. Okay. So like when I'm away from the rink, you're with your friends, your family, and those people care about you mostly. So it's easy for people around you to be like, well, if he gets hurt, you're going to get to play, or if he sucks, you'll get to play more. And then you start to have that mindset where I feel like with these guys and their maturity of where they're at in their career, these two goalies, you really start to understand that you're not necessarily competing against the other goalie more than you're just competing with yourself. Right. And the more you can concern yourself with how I play and how I can play better, and if I just worry about myself and my partner worries about himself, we can grow together and then the team does better. Because you look at every player that goes on to win a Stanley Cup or plays on a Stanley Cup winning team or goes deep in the playoffs, everybody gets contracts. Everyone gets paid. And the ultimate goal is to win. Yes, you want to be part of something, but also the fact of if you can find a way to like help each other get better during the process, everybody wins. And I feel like that's what you have here in this group, and it becomes contagious. And as you start to pack wins away and find ways to win games in third period when you're losing, it honestly just helps your team grow so much. And it's really impressive, I feel, so far, what we've seen from this Leafs team.
Huts, we got a super chat here from So Sangnam. I've been saying this team is different since mid-October when they beat Tampa 5-2. When Tampa Bay started getting nasty, the Leafs did too and dominated physically. They took no BS. We should remember that game. Seems like the chat's buying in here as well. They are starting to believe, Huts, this team is different. I think you've got some people sold right now. I think you've got some people in the chat sold.
I drank the Kool-Aid too. I'm still nervous though. I've been hurt. I've been hurt by the past, but I just feel like it's one of those things where, yes, we can talk about physicality. We can talk about those games. Like he brings up that example of the Tampa Bay game, but I feel like now it's everyone holds each other accountable. And that's when teams become dangerous. When you even a great, John Cooper talks about his team in Tampa, where the easiest part of his job when they won those cups was he didn't have to coach them. The room starts to run itself, and that's when teams become very dangerous. Every team I've ever been on, it's like when the coach leaves the room or before he comes in, the message is the same from the players. Where when I've played on teams where it's struggling and it starts to degrade a bit, is the fact that the coach leaves and guys are, you have pity parties and you're complaining about stuff. And I think that's where it really gets contagious here for this Toronto Maple Leafs team.
That's a good point, actually. Something I really hadn't really thought about was like a lot of times people in the chat had said, especially under a previous regime, when are these guys going to be held accountable? Why don't they hold these guys accountable? It's probably more important to be held accountable by your peers and holds 100%. More weight than from the person who is standing behind you on the bench. Not like they're being disrespected, but that's much more important for sure. That makes a lot of sense. It's actually just genuinely something I hadn't really thought of, Huts. That's a good point.
Yeah, it's honestly something I think when you at that level, when it starts to become more than just the contracts and what goes on, like the purpose of winning and accountable to your brothers who you're dealing with every night and kind of going out there and playing the game with, it becomes really powerful. And I feel like that is something that is really hard to understand. It's hard to recreate. And that's where you get the right dynamic of right players, right leadership, and it's a certain mix. And I feel like it can be very contagious in a locker room.
Last thing I want to ask you here, just quickly, this team has tightened itself up drastically defensively. And honestly, contrary to popular belief, they've actually been a pretty good defensive team in years past, not as bad as people have kind of said, oh, that team, all they do is score goals and that's it. It's not really being the case. But this year, more than anything, the defense of the team as a whole has seemed just a step above anything we've ever seen. Even just look at some of the underlying metrics that we're seeing from them right now. They want to play low event hockey. They don't allow the other team to get much. A lot of times I come here and I do the old let's go to money puck and see the deserve to win a meter. And, expected goals for whoever they're playing is not that high. The chances generated, they're keeping them outside of the trapezoid, wherever it is, house, whatever people want to call it, that area kind of right in front of the net. They have done so much better at eliminating those opportunities. Is there something in particular that we should be looking at to say, hey, that's why this is causing this team to be so much better defensively? Is it just a buy-in all around? Is it personnel? Why are they having this success right now?
I think everyone always goes to D and goaltending at that time when things are defending well, but I think it is a team effort, right? I think you create some more predictability in your game, and it's a word I use a lot because I feel like every team in the history of success come playoff time is when they can play a more predictable brand of hockey in the defensive zone. The life of a goalie is so much easier, right? When you know that if a D-man's going to front the puck, he's going to give you short side, he's going to take far side. It's things like that make. When there's traffic and there's more and more east-west plays, there's a line that cuts down the center of the ice. It's called the Royal Road. When the puck crosses center ice and there's a scoring chance, percentages go through the roof of scoring. So when teams can create that, and I feel like they defend the center of the ice so well, keeping teams to the outside. And I also think you lose a little bit on the offensive side, right? We talk about how much off the rush they don't generate as much anymore. But I think this goes hand in hand with, yes, we're going to give up a little bit here, but we're going to gain a little more on the back end. And I think it's a whole team buy-in throughout the lineup, right? And I also feel like as they start to grow here, they're still missing a lot of good pieces, right? When you look at some of that lineup, there's guys that playing right now aren't going to be in that lineup, but it seems like the whole buy-in. When you have Mitch Marner playing the way he's playing, how can you not, as a third or fourth liner, not buy into your game, right? This is a guy that produces offensively, and he could be irrelevant in the D zone, right? And still play every single night because that's how good he is. So when he is doing that in the defensive zone, again, look back to, like, talk about accountability. I talk about contagiousness in playing by your leaders. That's a great example of it. And I feel like Chief understands what it's going to take for this team to play and win in the playoffs. And I wanted to bring it up. I don't know if you saw that play at the blue line where Mitch Marner dropped down to his knees.
I was just about to say that to you.
that might be one of my favorite hockey IQ plays. Like, you see that play by Connor Garland the other night where he put a stick down?
Yeah.
It stopped the puck going through his legs. That was a crazy play. That Mitch Marner butterfly at the blue line to take that puck was one of my favorite plays of the season. That was insane.
Stamkos, I think it was Stamkos, crosses the blue line, goes to make that pass across, and Mitch goes down. And what, for people in the chat, like, if you just glossed over it in the moment, please go watch it again. It's the most intentionally done thing where he drops to his knees, blocks the pass, and then he follows it up by passing it to Matthews, who goes down the other way and goes inside on the defenseman, inside on Saros, and almost tucks 5-hole on him. If he scored there, if he scored there, I would have had to go and change. That would have been the most disgusting play, start to finish, of all time. But yeah, that was the thing I was thinking of right then when you were talking about that.
I tried to find it. I tried to find the clip. We got to get that going because it was an insane clip. Add that to this talk.
Yeah, that was so gross. But Huts, I appreciate you joining. I appreciate helping us break down tonight's game. You will be hosting on the sheet with Jeff Merrick December 19th. Is that correct?
That is right. Me and my boy, Jeff Merrick, he's taking me under his wing. Those are big wings, so I'm nervous. I got to get ready. I need some fine-tuning still. We're going to grow, and obviously we're pumped to have Merrick on. He's the best, and I'm looking forward to it. I think everything at the Nation is going smooth, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, you don't have to worry too much because they still put amateurs on that show like myself. I'm producing there and just hopping in every now and then. So having you on is a major step up from my face popping up on the screen, Huts. I appreciate it. As always, thanks for stopping by here, and look forward to seeing you on the sheet December 19th.
Thanks for having me, my man.
All right, there you go. Carter Hutton helping us break down tonight's game, talk about everything that went right, especially for this Maple Leafs team in that third period to help them get this victory. And you want to talk about things going right? Well, things are going right in your favor with the Nation Gear Black Friday sale. Black Friday, yes, it's coming, it's gone, but the Black Friday sale, it's still here, and it's time to score big on Nation Gear. Whether you're rocking the freshest designs or rocking the classics, repping the freshest designs or rocking the classics, words not my forte right now, this is your chance to snag all your favorites for 15% off. Big news. A brand new My City collection has dropped and is part of the sale, along with other fresh gear you don't want to miss. This is your shot to grab the latest styles and the classics at unbeatable prices. Need the perfect gift from your favorite fan? Nation Gear has you covered, from hoodies to hats. Make this holiday season legendary for the hockey lover in your life, and it gets better. You look up on there on the screen, you can see it. You spend over $200 and we'll throw in free shipping. That's right, free shipping. But don't wait on the sidelines too long. This deal is 1 week only. Shop now, only on nationgear.ca. Make sure to check that out. And yes, obviously Monday to Friday, every single day of the week, check out the sheet over on Daily Faceoff with Jeff Merrick. Yes, I am the producer of that show over there. Occasionally can hear me giving Leafs propaganda, but make sure to check it out regardless. Appreciate Carter Hutton hopping on here. A couple of things that I thought what he said that were really interesting about this team and the reason they're having success. The one being the internal accountability. I know a lot of times those of you in the chat, and myself included, I've got wrapped up in it as well. So I'm not excused from the conversation, but we look at the head coach and we look at the staff that they've got there, the GM, et cetera, and we say to ourselves, or we continue to ask each other, why doesn't the coach hold these guys accountable? Why don't Nylander and Marner and Matthews and such, why don't they have this accountability from the coaching staff? Well, as Carter brought up, to have other guys step up and not a guy or a couple of guys step up and say, hey, this is the way we've got to play, but to have the vast majority of your room step up and do it and start to say, this is the way we are going to play. You need to buy into the system because we won't respect you, or I mean, I'm putting words in their mouths and I'm assuming that that's how that might go, but we won't have the same level of respect for you because you won't do this. You won't play the team game or buy in or play defensively or block shots or whatever it may be. That's a whole different level of accountability where you have to own up to it to your teammates. Who cares what the coach thinks at that point? But if Berube can instill this in these guys and say, hey, you need to play this way, and then all of these other guys buy in, if you're the odd man out of not buying in at that point, you're going to look like the asshole. Now it's starting to feel like there is internal accountability. Mitch Marner jumping into that scrum was one of the biggest breakthrough moments I've seen of this team. And it may be so stupid to people of other fan bases to say, really? The one scrum you saw of 16 where he went and pushed the guy? We understand as Leafs fans how rare an occurrence like that is. Or how that has pretty much never happened, I guess I should say, more than rare, rather than rare. I watched that happen, and I was like, oh my God, that's Mitch. Like, I felt like it was not real when it happened. And then all of a sudden, this entire third period basically just became Globetrotter hockey from the Leafs, mixed with them going full-blown, like, defensive buy-in, blocking shots, finishing checks, incredible defensive breakups, back-checking like crazy, great offensive plays, great offensive zone possession, and I'm just sitting there going, a switch flipped at some point there in that third period, whether it was Matthews getting absolutely rocking, but it was insane. And Josh D. Savino says, Zach, love the show, brother. Interested to hear your thoughts on AM34. It's like he's getting filthier and filthier. Yeah, honestly, it's like it is kind of like that right now. Obviously, you need him to stay healthy, but otherwise, like what Gord is saying there as well, I'm with you there, Zach. That stood out. Attaboy Mitch, he was insane in the third. Like, I'm winning this game. There's nothing you can do about it. We have seen Nylander do this a lot, where he just says, okay, fuck it, enough's enough. I'm taking over this game. We're going to win the game. And then at that point, it's just like, it's the William Nylander show. He gets out on the ice. He's picking pucks off of everybody. He's winning battles in the corner. He's put up 15 shots to close the game, obviously exaggerating, but he goes nuclear at these end points of games or third periods or some point in the second where he just says, I've had enough. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to do it. That is one thing I felt has lacked, where it's this takeover mode. And I know that can get confused a lot of time with these guys having great nights. So what I want to clarify is a lot of times we see, oh, wow, this was the great night from Mitch or Austin where they have, 2-3 goals, 4 points, whatever it may be. And you see their stats at the end of the night and you watch the game and you go, yeah, this was the Mitch game. This was the Austin game. But they didn't take over the game. They just produced a lot. This game tonight was Mitch Marner genuinely saying, we're winning this fucking game and I'm going to lead us there. And Austin Matthews being a part of that. Those two guys in that third period went out there together. They played in unison to make this happen. And they just said, we are going to win this game tonight. We're down 1-0 in the third period here. They had a couple of opportunities together towards the end of the second where it started to look like it was trending in the right direction. But those two together took over this game. And that is what you are paid $11 and $13.25 million to do, is take over games. Mitch Marner was incredible tonight. Incredible. Defensive plays, finishing checks, getting in sticks in lane to break up plays, to transition into offense. His offensive ability. Yes, there are moments for everyone, including Mitch here tonight, which I know people are going to say, why didn't you bring this up? Yes, there are moments where the guy could be stronger on his stick, or Matthews doesn't have to make an extra pass or an extra play where it just turns into a turnover or whatever. Outside of that, I thought those guys said, enough's enough. We're winning this game, and we're the ones who are doing it. We're not going to look at this one at the end of the night and say, why couldn't the third line score goals? Why didn't Nikita Grabenkin score goals? Fuck that. You're paid that much money, take over games, and they did here tonight. Those guys were incredible tonight, especially in the third period. Second period, I'm just going to wipe that one. I've told you guys before, during games, I just write notes. It's more like mental stuff for me. Some of it is like I write it down, and just putting the player's name makes it in my head like I just remember. I just remember by writing rather than just seeing stuff. So I write it or I hear it and I remember it. I write down stuff. Important things that happen. I kid you not, my second period summary is like 2 sentences. There's like bad turnover there, decent chance there. And it's like, that's the second period summary. I looked at it at the end as I was going into the third period, and my notes are always full. Like I'm glued to the game. I'm glued to this TV. I looked and I was like, did I like fall asleep in the second period? And then I realized, no, the Leafs did, and the game itself did. You might as well just deleted the second period. That was like, I at the end of the second, I just was like, what the fuck just happened? Like, how did I get here? I'm looking at my notes going, I feel like something happened and I missed it. But nope. Third period, dominant from those guys. And I mean, looking at box score here, you want to talk about all-around game from Mitch. 3 assists. He's a +1. He's got a blocked shot. He finishes with 2 hits, a takeaway, a giveaway, whatever. He plays 22-34 of ice time. He's got 253. I've read someone else's power play time. I was like, that's not right. 253 of power play time and a minute 10 of shorthanded time on ice. He's all over it. He gets, quad singles here tonight, which would have the NBA term of an NHL player who got himself involved in the game all over the place. That was a spectacular third period. And Gord there says that he tuned in for the third. Well, if that's what you tuned in for, then you probably think that this was an incredible game from start to finish. But fun one. Just a fun one to watch from these guys in that third period. That is what superstars being superstars is. We do have another super chat here. I missed this one earlier and just seeing it right now. So Sangnem also sent a super chat here. Let's get to this one. So Sangnem says, Revo helping Mitch expand his game on his off days. Yeah, I don't know about if it's Revo that's helping him do that, but he certainly has developed here. He seems to be adding other elements, which is nice to see. And Francesco there says, Zach, let's see in April if these top players show up. We've seen this movie many times this season. Great playoffs, they all disappear. Many times in a season, great playoffs, they all disappear. Yeah, I get it. I know that they disappeared traditionally. I can only evaluate what they've done right now and try to look forward to the future as best as possible. And as of right now, the most that I can do is just appreciate the type of hockey that they're playing right now. And I know sometimes it might sound stupid, it might sound silly, and I get that because I am a fan here as well, and I deal with so much of the frustration of the inconsistency and the Jekyll and Hyde from this group. But this last couple of weeks, this last stretch has felt like the most consistent on a game-to-game basis that we've seen out of the group. And like, even in games where they have not played that great, They've not been the best. There's a lot more to be desired from the group. They've still found ways to stay true to the fundamentals, which I think is one of the most important pieces of all of this right now. Like Chicago, bad game. Still didn't try to let that one get to a track meet. Didn't play the best, didn't execute incredibly, but the style of play set out to be executed was the same that they play and tried to do and tried to accomplish nightly. That feels so much different because, yeah, you're not going to be the best team every single night. You're not going to have your A-plus game every single night. So what do you do on the off nights? Some of those games are just starting to make me believe and feel like things could be different. I know I'm an idiot. I know this may come back to bite me in the ass. But I don't know. It's just like the style of play feels so much more what you want it to be. It feels so much more in the direction of like, this is what it takes to win when it matters the most. And they may lose in the first round, but right now I'm appreciating the process and enjoying the process of a regular season more than I have in years past. Think about how many blow-up streams we've had. How many times we've come on here and absolutely snapped over this team this year. Even in games that they have lost, it has been like, you know what? Think they played the right way tonight. The Florida game, injuries caught up to them. What else do you want me to do? They're on a spectacular run over the last month here. They missed Austin Matthews and they didn't miss a beat. They still found ways to just piece together these defensive games where they would just not let the other team do or try or succeed at anything that they wanted to do. They snuffed out offense. They didn't allow track meets. They turned this into like this defensive, we're going to grind you down and wear you out type of game. You're getting contributions from your bottom six, whether it be from physical play or just wearing out the other team or their ability to kill penalties or defense in late game situations or every now and then getting involved in the offense. Like looking at Steven Lorentz stepping up and getting a couple of goals in a few different spots. But like, it's felt different. Long term, maybe it won't be. But in all seriousness, if you are sitting here telling me it hasn't felt different, look back at what has gone on with this team over the last little while and tell me that this style of play is not different than what you've seen in years past and not more conducive to success in the long term, to success in the playoffs, success when it matters most, because so often we say that they can't play the physical style, they can't play the grind it down style, they can't play the defensive style. Right now they're doing it. It has felt much better. Gordon Graham there, where they can play the slow games because they have the D and the goaltending for it now, and they have the straight capacity they've always had. Berube knows. Sorry, I'm wearing down rapidly as the stream goes along. But yeah, maybe one thing that'll help us get through that and get back up a little bit more energy and a little bit more positive is the smelling salts. We did hit 50 likes here on the stream. We hit 50 more. We're only 45 away more from the from 100 and getting to the next ones, but we hit that. We will do the smelling salts yet again. Let's do that. Thank you for the 50 likes here on the stream. Remember, the Leafs Nation 401 right here on YouTube. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and like the stream here for today. Thank you guys so much for supporting. Thank you to all of you who watched Leafs Morning Take there this morning with myself filling in. Rosie and I having a good chat about the Hockey Canada stuff, Nikita Grabenkin, how unreal he has been, how much fun he's been to watch. And then we roll it right over into Carter Hutton joining us here tonight to continue to pump our tires as Leafs fans and tell us, you know what? This team might actually be different. And it's not just me, the idiot, yelling at you about why this team is different and fanboying over them. It's someone like Jay Rosehill on the Monday morning show saying he thinks this team might be different. And then it's Carter Hutton going from Morning Cup of Hockey with Laz and Colby telling them it might be different to right here on the Leafs Nation After Dark to tell you all this team might be different. Thanks for hitting that like button. Let's get it to 100 and we'll do it again. Let's get to the smelling salts. Oh, yeah. Cheers. Oh. There you go. One last one. Just for some encouragement to get to 100. Ooh. Let's get to this first. Super chat here from Seo Sangnam. So Sangnam says, one of the defining things about our fan base is that we're known for either overhyping or constantly doubting the teams. I think the appropriate take on these Leafs is that they are legit contenders. I think that that's probably fair. I think that's probably an accurate assessment. Overhyping or constantly doubting. I'm trying my best to not overhype the team and try to be realistic about it. I think the most exciting part of it for me right now watching them is that, like, each year we could kind of put a summary on what was wrong with the team that ultimately led to them not having success and not being able to win. Every year we were able to say, like, you know what? We didn't play this style of hockey. We were missing these types of players. We didn't have this goaltending. And all of those things, whether they operate independently or they work together, or it's the coach doesn't implement the right systems, or the defense that we have here isn't that great, or you have massive holes in it, or your goalie is not great on a nightly basis, or your bottom six isn't tough enough to play in rough and tumble games. We have been able to identify all of those, come to the end of the season and say, you know what? We weren't actually contenders. Right now, evaluating this team in the moment, let's keep that on top of the mind as well. In the moment, one of the things that we're kind of evaluating them with is, you know what? They are much more geared towards having those pieces. Watch Chris Tanev and Ekman Larsson nightly. That is a pairing that we are saying, you know what? At the beginning of the year, incredible. I was upset that they broke them up. And I went, no, this is our best defensive pair. You know, or I can't believe we're switching them up. Why are we doing that? And then he switches it to Riley and Ekman Larsson. Bang, instant chemistry. Morgan Riley is just getting lost in the shuffle of this team. The pressure of the city, the media, the fan base, whatever, the teammates, it's not on his shoulders anymore. He doesn't have to carry the load of being the best defenseman every single night and having to be the number one guy who skates around the ice with a spotlight on him. And then you go to Chris Tanev and Jake McCabe after those Ekman Larsson and Tanev got split up. The number one defensive pairing in hockey until McCabe went out, shutting everything down. Yeah, shutting everything down. Not giving up prime opportunities, keeping play to the outside. Great at advancing the puck up the ice. Good situational awareness in offensive zones, knowing when to hold, knowing when to pull back. Like, there were all these little things watching there going, wow. Okay, so then move past them. Riley, Ekman Larsson, great first pair now. Tanev, McCabe, great second pair now. Third pair, oh fuck, this is where we have issues. No, we don't. Connor Timmins, Simone Benoit. Connor Timmins and Simone Benoit are your D. In years past, we would come on this stream and pretty much every single night, Justin Hall this, Justin Hall that, Jake Gardiner this, Jake Gardiner that, Martin Marincin this, Martin Marincin that. Who's that guy now? Who is that guy? The biggest piece of frustration we have is that Nick Robertson can't score. And yeah, I get tired of it because I want to see the kid score, but it's just like he's vanilla in other areas of the ice, so are you going to score? That's what you're supposed to do. That's the biggest complaint right now of the team. It's either they all play meh or they all play amazing. Like, there is just a team... there's an identity of a team right now. And it feels like that's different than years past. You guys in this chat have dragged me down a hole here tonight, and I probably did it to myself more than anything, but just of continuously discussing and saying the word different, and I'm going to get absolutely harpooned for this one later. Like, this is gonna haunt me. I'm going to fall asleep just hearing different, but it does. It feels different right now. It feels different. Yeah, but, I mean, to Seo Sangnam's point there, it does feel like, hey, this is a legit contender now. Like an actual legit contender. There's work to do. There's pieces to add. There's guys to bring in. But regardless, this is a contender. And you have some stuff that you can play with here. You have some guys that maybe you can move out. Some space you can free up. Some roster spots that you can move around. Maybe you can start to do that and head yourself into the right direction. To be a more dominant team. To be a team that's even more of a legit contender. Okay, let's get to now our play of the game. I want to break that one down because there's a few. And I want to know what you guys are going to say in the chat about what your play of the game is. Because I wrote one down like earlier and I was like, this is the play of the game. And then the game went on and I was like, maybe this is the play of the game. And then later I was like, maybe that was the play of the game. I'm like, there's a couple here tonight that I thought were really, really good. So let's get to our play of the game and see what you guys have to say. Okay, play of the game. So for some context, early on in the first period there, William Nylander, Austin Matthews, Matthew Nyes playing together, right? They go down into the offensive zone. The puck ends up down below the goal line, and I'm watching, and I'm like, wow, the boys are really going to work here down below the goal line. Like a down low cycle game, a battle behind the goal line, and a Leafs player comes out with the puck and feeds Matthews at the side for a one-timer. Holy shit, that must have been Matthew Nyes. No, it was William Nylander. And I'm like, whoa. Willie's down there, physical play, fighting for space, fighting for the puck, comes out with the puck, feeds Matthews, rips it off the post. I'm like, wow, okay, let me save that one because I loved everything that went into it. And then I get to the second period. It's pretty uneventful. There was an incredible play by Marner, by the way, in the first period, who feeds Pontus Holmberg kind of like in the slot with an empty net, and he misses the puck. We will just glaze over that one because I don't want to dig too much into the Pontus Holmberg stuff here tonight. I'm thinking maybe the boys discuss it, but Rosie and I also did touch it on the morning show as well. Third period, the first goal to tie it. That's the first line going to work right away in the third period, putting pressure on the Predators early and just instantly changing the vibe of the game. Winning battles, forcing a turnover, puck goes down to Marner in the corner, Matthews finds himself open and is able to tap that one into pretty much an empty net as Marner hits him. That's another beautiful play. Like, there's just a few that I was looking at. I think the play of the game for me is legit going to be the play that Hutz talked about and we got into here on the show, where Marner went down on his knees and blocked the pass. Stamp goes across the blue line, goes to make the pass across in the zone, and Mitch has the wherewithal to go down on his knees and block the pass. I even watched it back. It's like that wasn't even one of those ones that was like overly risky for him, because he had to kind of go across to make that play anyways in that spot in that area of the ice. And even if he misses that puck, like he's probably just hopping back up to his feet quickly anyways and turning back around. The awareness and ability to execute that, also to be that fast on your skates and quick to go down, block it, and then get back up, pick up the puck, and make the pass up to Matthews or into Matthews, who goes down the other way, who goes up the wall, toe drags to the inside, and then almost buries past Saros 5-hole. If that goes in, like, there might have been a hologram beside Legends Row with just that video playing on a loop. That would have been one of the most disgusting goals like I've seen of this team in a long, long time. The blocked pass, getting up, making the play to Matthews. That's my play of the game. Unfortunately, it doesn't end up in a goal, but that's my play of the game. I also want to shout out the Matthew Nyes pass across to William Nylander, who bears on an empty net on the power play. You want to talk about getting ahead of yourself. At least I know for a fact I will never get as far ahead of myself as when Rosie said that he was going to build a statue for Matthew Nyes on the show, and I pretty much couldn't stop laughing for 5 minutes because of how much conviction he said it with. Not that I was laughing at Rosie for making that take, because I loved it and I was fired up, but just how fired up he was making that take. I know that I'll never get that far right now. I'm talking about like making playoffs and like maybe going on a run. And then I'm going to say something here in a second that you guys are going to be like, yeah, you're getting a little horny, but putting the statue outside of Scotiabank was one of the all-time moments of this show. I want to talk about the Nyes pass and what it started to make me think about. This kid legitimately already has the making, and here we go. Clip this if this is what you're going to do and save it for later. This kid legitimately already has the making of being I was trying to find the word during the game, but I think the best way to describe it is a star power forward. Not a superstar. Superstar. See, the way I look at it is like, there is McDavid, and he is in a stratosphere that you cannot label. He's in the McDavid tier. God. Then there are superstars. Matthews, McKinnon, Rantanen, Marner, Makar, Draisaitl. The list goes on. Name whoever you want else in there. This kid is a legit star. The level below super. He is a physical presence. He gets up and down the ice well. He engages in battles. He engages in contact. He seems to always come up with the puck whenever there is going to be any type of skirmish or 50-50. His ability in front of the net is so smart. The hockey IQ that he expresses when he's on the ice is so impressive. He is capable of finding open areas, soft spots on the ice. He's got great hands here now. He's got great vision. He's able to make plays and finish on things. He is just so intelligent, on top of the fact that he is physically gifted, that I think is pushing him into that level where I have to consider him a star here now. He is reaching that point where it's like, dude, you are so dominant when you go out there. Not take over game dominant, but just so hard to deal with. He is so hard to stop. I am so impressed with Matthew Knies every single night, and I just genuinely am putting him into that star tier of things where it's like, you're a problem whenever you go out on the ice. I wanted to give him that credit. He's a star. Not superstar, star. He's like that. He's going to hit that level below where it's like you're just looking at him being the guy who is the... Yeah, stop talking and driving his value up. That's my bad. But he's just hitting that level where it's like you just know he's like this power forward, something you have not seen. Developing hands, developing this extra vision, and just a little bit of clutch factor. That's enough on that because Diz K might be right. I might be pumping his value up too high there. The other thing that I want to get to is our best bets. So let's get to that here now for the show tonight. I want to talk about what went right for us here tonight and how we ended up on the right side of the profit line. And our best bet segment is brought to you by Bet365. Proud partner of the Leafs Nation pregame and the Leafs Nation after dark. Open an account, Bet365 today, and bet on a huge range of markets. Use code NATION, N-A-T-I-O-N, all caps, N-A-T-I-O-N, code NATION. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. All right. Best bet here tonight puts us back in the win column. Austin Matthews, anytime goal. Best bet. We hit it at plus 115, $75, 3/4 of a unit, profits us 86. And I will tell you what, the concept, the notion of getting this plus money on Austin Matthews and how it wasn't going to last, I'm telling you, this game tonight might have ruined it. Like, this is honestly one of those ones where, hey, we got the win and we bet responsibly, and I always think we should. You bankroll management, make sure that you are playing within your means and you are making sure that what you have and what your bankroll is, you're allocating it appropriately. This is one of those ones where after the fact, just understanding the betting markets and where the numbers will move to and how often these things come around, I'm going to sit here and kick myself that this was not a full unit bet, truthfully, because the chances generated by Matthews here tonight, 7 shots on goal. I go over to Money Puck and our deserve to win a meter, and we're going to look at that here again tonight, which basically ends up the Leafs just barely getting edged out on the deserve to win a meter. But it's Austin Matthews with a 1.64 expected goal. Right? Like, when you get to that point and you're looking at 1.64 expected goals for Austin Matthews here, this is where I start to go, yeah, not only was the bet the right bet, and not only was the number we were looking at something that I genuinely was like, I don't think that this lasts. It's not going to last. The way he played here tonight, the fact that he scored on Monday, the fact that he scored 2 here tonight, these plus monies, sayonara. Like, we might get a 105, plus 105, which is still obviously plus money, and, like, fair enough. Yeah, I'll be wrong because the plus money is still there. But plus 115s and 120s, they're gone. Like, they are gone in the wind. I genuinely believe that this is one of the last opportunities we were going to have at that, because it also feels like when the big boy gets rolling, he gets rolling. He is hard to deal with. He is able to score at any given moment. He can just take over like the goal scoring of a game and just say, hey, put the puck on my stick. I'm going to find the back of the net. He's a dominant goal scorer from that aspect. And honestly, like, that was a good bet for us. That puts us back in the positive. We are up $33 on the season. I mean, look at this. Like, this is what we're trying to do here, ladies and gentlemen. Trying to teach you, trying to find value on some of this stuff. 25 games in. We are now currently sitting at, well, we've given out, what? 230, 29 bets through 25 games. We have hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We are 10 and 15. Nope. Good math, Zack. 10 and 19. And we are profiting $33. I don't care about record. I don't care about hitting 50-50 or above 500 or whatever. None of that matters to me. We're throwing out plus money. We've gave one minus 105 this season. It was Mitch Marner over 2.5 shots on goal. It was maybe one of the worst bets of all time, where Mitch had 0 shots in that game. But like, this is what we're going for. We're giving out plus money on pregame bets where we've got like plus 300s, plus 700s. We're getting plus 145s, hits, plus 210, hit, plus 200, plus 260. We're going to keep rocking at those. These odds imply that we have a less than 50% probability or chance of hitting them, and we're up $33 on the season. You follow along with the unit sizing, you should be positive there as well. Let's get to our final thing in the night, and let's wrap this one up. Let's get to our grades of the game. Let's keep hitting that like button as well. Subscribe here to the channel, Leafs Nation 401, right here on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe. We'll be back with more post-game reactions, pre-game best bets, just like that one, as well as Leafs Morning Take, Monday to Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, with Nick and Rosie breaking everything down. Let's get to our grades of the game. I want to know what you guys have. My grade for tonight's game. My grade for tonight's game is a B+. I thought it was a pretty decent first period where the Leafs actually had a couple of opportunities. One of them being Mitch Marner gets to the front of the net, walks out from the corner, gets pretty much in the slot, decides not to shoot it, and passes to Ekman-Larsson, who's in the corner and just in no better position than him. It ends up missing Ekman-Larsson. The other one was an unbelievable pass by Marner to Pontus Holmberg, who was pretty much open in the slot, and he misses the puck. Like, the Leafs could have had a couple chances there. The one goal that was scored by the Predators there in the first period was Marchessault firing it in from the blue line. It hits the dasher. Joseph Woll loses the puck. It bounces over in front of him, bounces in the slot, and then gets knocked in by Marchessault, the only guy on the ice who knew where the puck was. And then the third period was like basically an A+. The boys played out of their minds in the third. You get full contribution. You get goal scoring from Austin Matthews, William Nylander off the schneid there. Those guys played real well. Mitch took over this game. I thought he was absolutely dominant. Incredible play there from Matthew Nyes across as well. Like, the big boys show up. You get defensive contributions from the rest of your lineup. You also end up here tonight with Joseph Woll finishing with a .917 save percentage. Faces 24 shots, has 22 saves. UC Saros, man, poor guy. This guy's just getting absolutely shelled, and their team just can't find ways to score goals. You want a stat here. The Nashville Predators have now scored 2 goals or fewer in 17 of their 26 games this season. They are 0-17 in those games. The Nashville Predators have scored 2 or fewer goals in 17 of their 26 games this season. They are 0-17 in those games. That's rough. That's rough. But poor UC Saros. We don't have to deal with it. Thankfully, because we've got some amazing goaltending here in Toronto right now, and I am happy about that. That's going to do it for the show here tonight. B+ is my final grade. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the show as always. Remember, nationgear.ca. No. Nation Gear. the tab closed. Yep, nationgear.ca. Check out the Black Friday sale. It is heading in a couple of days here. So you're going to want to head on over there. My City Edition gear. Make sure to check that out. Also, tune in tomorrow. I don't care if you've got a busy day. If you have to watch it back after. If you have to find a way to follow us on all of our socials or wherever it may be, check out the show tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Nick Alberga tweeted here tonight. He has a massive announcement. Massive announcement. Tune in tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. 11 a.m. Eastern for Leafs Morning Take. 3 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll be back with Jeff Merrick for another edition of The Sheet. We'll be breaking down what went on around the NHL here tonight, maybe some foreign nations talk, all of that and more tomorrow on The Sheet as well. But make sure to subscribe here, Leafs Nation 401, right here on YouTube. Hit that like button before you leave. Thank you so much to everyone who tuned in. Maxentius Decimus, Friday is my birthday. I hope the boys can give me a solid game. Max, early happy birthday. And on top of that, you remind me, or the chat remind me on Friday. We appreciate you, Max, for all the support you show here on this show. This has been game number 25 of the Toronto Maple Leafs regular season, defeating the Nashville Predators in what I think ends up being 3-2 final. I think. I thought Johnny T might have scored at the end, but I think this one closes at 3-2. The Leafs move to 16-7-2 on the season. Thank you so much to everyone who watched here tonight. We'll see you guys very soon. And as always, keep believing. Oh. For more content just like this, including game previews, post-game live shows, Leafs Morning Take, Monday through Friday with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill with special guests, as well as instant reaction videos. Make sure to be subscribed here to the Leafs Nation YouTube channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss anything, and drop a like.